our data points and everything for that December meeting, most likely, which when we'll go through kind of what our outcomes were for the year. Upcoming events, we have a lot of them. So we have Bagels and Brainstorming with Project Community Pride for law enforcement coming up on Thursday of this week. We have a great, it looks like we're going to have a great turnout for this one. I think we have at least, what, 10 people confirmed so far?
I think we're going to end up with like 12 because 2 other officers I'm waiting to hear back from.
Yeah. So, and Chatham Township also, we've extended the invite to Chatham Township as well. So that'll be here on Thursday. We have a lot to talk about with law enforcement. So that should be a good brainstorming session. And then the following, so that's, so next week we have a binge drinking workshop. So we did a workshop, a vaping workshop back in August. And this one is focused on binge drinking. We have, how many people do you think we'll have for that one, Christine?
Probably, I'm hoping about 10 students.
10 teens, high school students for that one. So Christine and I are working on the curriculum for that. That'll be here at the Y as well. The goal with these, with the vaping and the binge drinking workshop is now that Christine and I created the content, we'll be able to roll it out to the teams here at the Y as part of an effort to engage those teens and teen staff as well in the next month or so. Really, we want to get that rolled out pretty quickly for the teams. So we're looking at Mariners, Rosettes, Gators in the winter when the basketball team starts as well. So excited about that. On November 16th, we have our next teen topics coming up. So we're bringing back Nicholas Lepper from Edge of New Jersey. We're working with the GSAs at both schools on that one. So Diana will reach to you for support on that. We've already done so with Heather at Chatham High School. So we really want to engage those clubs and then they can share it with their peers as well. So that is another cultural humility training, and also, you know, just an opportunity for teens to learn how to support their peers. So we're excited about that. The last one that we had with Nicholas Lepper was back in the spring. It was well attended. It was one of our better attended teen topics that we've had. And then we also had Nicholas to come and speak at a coalition meeting not that long ago. And I think there are other opportunities to bring him back and speak to other groups. So we're excited about that prospect. Basketball at the Y, we are trying to work on another date for that. So we've done 2 basketball at the Y events so far this year in the past few months. It's an opportunity for teens to come to the gym here, the basketball gym, on a Friday evening or potentially a Saturday evening as well, high risk times. They can learn some information about the coalition and Project Community Pride giveaways. We've had roughly 10 or so kids, 8 to 10 kids at both of the previous events. So we're working with the sports department here at the Y to finalize another date, and then also looking at other spaces in the community to branch out as well. So
what was the age group?
So for the last one that we did, we had 7th grade all the way up to 10th.
Yeah, so
yeah, it's 7th to 10th.
That's our target.
That is our target. That's right. Yeah. So we met that target goal. So we promote that with 7th grade initiative here at the Y. We had some students that were 7th grade initiative members that came. We have in the past also had law enforcement come, which is a good opportunity for teens to meet local law enforcement. But really the goal is to offer these events, like I said before, during these high risk times. So Friday evenings, potentially Saturday evenings as well. If there are school breaks, you know, like next week, there are 2 weeks, there's the teachers convention. So those times are the times that we're looking to host these. We've had a lot of tables recently, different events. Bottle Hill Day was this past, actually, before I talk about that, upcoming Project Community Pride tables at Madison High School and Chatham High School. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? What we're planning to do there?
Sure. Yeah. So it was a great success. It was Ribbon Week, Red Ribbon Week, and we had tables at Madison High School and at Chatham High School. And MCC had done the art contest for both schools, and it really generated a lot of kids coming to the table, being very interested, kind of making a vote about who won the coloring contest. So I'm sure that MCC will be using those posters for future events. But it was great. We had lots of kids coming up because the candy helped over at the high school, at Madison and at Chatham High School, as well as the voting. But it still was a great event both times. And then we also did the Walk of Wellness like that Saturday before Ribbon Week, which went very well also.
So the tables that we have coming up at the middle school or the high schools in.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So we are going to be doing monthly. The Madison High School, we're going to be due Monday mental health monthly meetings, not meetings, but table set up at lunchtime. So once a month on Monday, at the high school in Madison, we're going to have tables set up. We're going to have some sort of activity for the kids to either take with them or to do at the table. So we're really looking forward to that, and we'll be partnering with Diana with the one at Madison, and then at Chatham we're going to be doing Wednesdays. So like Wednesday wellness lunches monthly. Same thing, we're going to be setting up a table, doing some sort of an activity or a takeaway or something, and getting some of the kids to come at lunchtime. And we'll be partnering with Heather Marsh, or should I say Heather Flaherty now that she's married, on that as well. So we were going to kick off right after Red Ribbon Week. So I think we have dates for both schools starting next week.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
and I think the idea of doing something interactive that the kids can actually come and do rather than just sitting there to talk with them is a lot more inviting and engaging.
Yeah, I think we decided for between PCP and MCC, kind of like each month, one of us is doing an activity and the other is kind of like drawing kids to the table. That worked at Madison High School for sure last Monday. So we'll definitely I think we'll do that. And then also then we're touching on mental health and then also substance prevention. So
yeah, to do the trade-off works out great. Otherwise it's too much stuff at once.
We could really pack a table.
Yeah.
Stuff.
But it's good. It's great. And the kids are going to get used to the tables. Oh, what's going to be here this month? So that's why we're doing it as well, is to get they're used to our program, seeing our logo, things like that. So,
and in the spring we'll have Gabe who can really
draw. We're going to bring Gabe in.
Draw some more kids to the table. Yeah.
And then I think Christine, you had mentioned that even at the Red Ribbon Week table that kids took more materials than you expected.
Yes, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, and I was going to say, we, especially the pamphlets on depression and suicide, a lot were taken from the information on the tables, which, I have to say, since COVID, I feel like kids are taking more and more material on mental health than before, at least from my recollection of the years. I felt like, I kind of know how it stacks I'm leaving on the tables, and when the kids come by, they did the voting, and then a lot of the suicide information was taken by the kids and put in their book bags and stuff. So.
And I think this whole parents' rights campaign that's going on across the state is really having an impact on kids as well. That there's a lot more noise about education. And I think that the end result of it is that it's more stress for kids.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are a lot of kids that are talking to me about their concerns with the parent right campaign. And it's coming very close to us, as close as Hanover.
Yeah.
So keep our ears and eyes open.
Yeah. I think having all of those materials, it's, I think it also allows us to have more conversations just with kids as they stop by, if they're taking something, it's an opportunity to talk specifically, to learn more about what they might be dealing with. So, it's always good to engage and to build capacity that way. So just a recap of some past events. So we had Bottle Hill Day in Madison last weekend, which was great. We were in the prime spot, as we always are, right on the corner of Central and Main, with a table right next to the Y. Thank you to the Y for sponsoring our table. That's always a huge support for us. So we had material, we had all of our materials on the table this year. And, you know, kind of back to what Kathy just mentioned and with Christine, I had more people stop at the table this year. I think I had 5 people that stopped at the table that wanted to talk about how they had this past year lost a child to an overdose, which hasn't really happened. I mean, it's happened here and there over the past several years, but to have that many people, you know, stop at the table and talk about that, talk about their experience, you know, it was surprising, I guess. So other than that, it was the same, you know, people stopping, kids taking a lot of our giveaways. So it's always a good way to kind of go through some stuff, order some new stuff for the next year. So, you know, thousands and thousands of people at Bottle Hill Day each year. So, and then the following day was the Walk Wellness, which Christine mentioned. So that was sponsored by or hosted by the Support Network in Madison. So they had, this is their second year that they hosted this event. It was on a Sunday, early afternoon. Just some people stopped by. We actually had teens that stopped at the table to volunteer and to help out. So that was really good to have some engagement from them as well. Christine mentioned the Red Ribbon Week tables that we had this past week at the high school in Madison and Chatham. So we did I mentioned this at our last meeting, we hosted our second annual Red Ribbon Week art contest at Chatham High School. And it was the first year that Madison got involved. So a big thank you to Diana Russo for, Diana will be right back. They're in a drill right now at the high school. So a big thank you to Diana for all of her work on the art contest and drumming up some interest in it. We had 15 entries at Madison High School, and we had 3 entries at Chatham High School, which is one more than we had last year. So an improvement. Some really, really great entries though, right? I mean, like unbelievable. So we did, it was a $50 Visa gift card. The winner in Madison, for Madison was Noah Flanagan. So we're gonna be posting on our social media today. Diana took a picture with him with his certificate and his gift card, but it was great when we showed up at Madison High School on Monday for the table last week. Diana had hung all of the posters on a big art board thing.
Was it 12 or
display?
15? 15, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a great turnout.
Yeah, and they did a really, really good job, all very different. The prompt was be kind to your mind, live drug-free, I think that's what it was. So they just had to take that prompt and they could submit art in any format. It just had to be, they could create art in any format, any media. It just had to be submitted for entry on an 11 by 18 poster. So it could be digital, it could be collage, it could be kind of anything that they wanted. So we did have some different types of art. And the kids, Christine and I had the table on Monday, and we were asking students to stop by the table and vote. So I don't know how many kids we had all together stop by. Probably, I want to say around 80 or 80 votes, something like that. So it was great. It was a great opportunity to engage and for them to look at the posters, vote on their favorite. It was anonymous, so they didn't know who had made the poster, which is always a good thing, I think.
Did you take a picture of the board?
Yeah, so I'll post, that's all going to be posted. Yeah, it's all going to be posted on social media today. So excited about that. Chatham, I have not counted the votes yet. We probably have 3 times that many votes to go through. So I'll be doing that today and then reaching back out to Heather with the name of the winner and the gift card and the certificate as well. So thanks to both schools for participating. It was a great, it was definitely better than last year. So definitely an improvement. Okay, a couple other updates that I have. We are working, I don't know if I mentioned this at the last meeting, we are working with Tim McMahon again on finalizing the date for Hidden in Plain Sight. This year, the presentation is to be hosted at Chatham High School. We alternate Madison and Chatham each year. So it will be at Chatham High School. We're looking at a date in January right now, just waiting to hear back on like blackout dates from Heather for Chatham School District. And then we'll do the same with Madison as well to make sure that we're avoiding concerts, dances, all those things. And then also there's some PCP events that are going on towards the end of the month.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, we won't do that. Yeah, so we will we'll finalize that date soon, hopefully within this week, we'll get that information out. But Tim McMahon has done the presentation for us this will be his 6th year, I think. So he's great, DEA agent, very, very good. We'll have a table with information for parents before and after the event as well. What else? Sorry, it's a lot. We are in this year, coming into this grant year that we're currently in is another data collection year for us. So the last time that I did key informant interviews and listening sessions and focus groups and all that stuff, good stuff, was 2 years ago when we were doing our application for our continuation grant. So it's time to update that. I think that we're going to find a lot of new qualitative data. So we'll reach out, I will reach out to the people that we've interviewed in the past. But it's a very easy process for anyone. You've been interviewed, it's easy, right? It takes less than an hour. It's all anonymous. And then we use that data. We use it in our logic models. And then we also just use it to kind of update what we're focused on. You know, when we're putting it into our logic model, we're really, we're focused on the, sorry, it's my son's school, but that's kind of where we focus our local conditions. So the qualitative data informs kind of our local conditions. So we'll look to start doing that probably in February and do February and March, do some listening sessions, do some key informant interviews. We always reach out to law enforcement. We reach out to the schools. We reach out to local government, which will be changing, obviously. So just keep an eye out for that. Safe RX. So we talked about this a couple meetings ago. These are the Safe RX containers. So when I was at the CADCA conference in July, I met the representative from Safe RX who was pushing these for safe prescription medication. So the idea is that you take your pill bottle and you just put it in here. It has a code. Well, you can encode so that it locks, basically. You pick your code on the top here, and then you use this little device, and I can't think of the words. I don't know what the mechanism is, but basically it creates a locking system, and you know your code. There's over 10,000 different number combinations that you can use. And it keeps your medication safe. So when I went up to the table, I asked if they had anything similar for safe cannabis use, and they didn't, but they did suggest this larger. This is the larger model. There's a smaller one, and this is the larger one. So other coalitions are using this as a potential safe cannabis storage option. So we had some money left over at the end of this grant year. We purchased, I think, 50 of these, which is not a ton, but we're not just going to be giving these away to anybody. What I think is great about it, probably some people might not like about it, when you come up to a table and you're kind of interested in this, or you see this and you ask a question about it, in order for the user to take it home with them and for it to be effective, the person that's at the table has to use this in order to make it work, basically. So the idea is that you pick your code. So I picked my birthday, so I chose 1012. And these numbers, I know it's kind of hard to see, I'll pass it around. So you line up the number that you choose. So all of this is happening while somebody is at the table and I'm talking with them while I'm asking them what do you want your code to be? So Christine says 1012. I line up the numbers. There's a little arrow on top. So I'm going to line up the numbers, and then you put the cap on this little cutter thing and everything lines up. And then all you do is push down. And then now the little metal piece on the inside or the plastic piece is cut. So when you go to put it on your, the bottom part, the container, now it's locked. So the point of me doing this is to show that like you can have a really good conversation with somebody while you're showing them how to use it. So it's not intended, like when the product was created, it wasn't intended for cannabis, but it is an option for people. It's something that, if they don't have access to a lockbox or anything else like that, it is something that can be used. So we're going to start having these. We're going to be obviously particular about which events we do have these on our table, and we'll see how it goes. But we're actually I'm working with SafeRx on creating a brochure or a rack card for the instructions specific to cannabis. So I still have that. This is what they send. These are the instructions. This is what they look like just for the prescription, how to create your code and everything, and set it up. So I'm working with SafeRx on directions for cannabis. So we're working on that. Hopefully in the next month, they'll approve it. We're using each other's logos. So we have to be, it has to go through some different edits, but we'll create a brochure that then we're handing out to people as well. So we'll be able to include specific information about safe cannabis storage and cannabis in teens and things like that. So that's a good thing for us. It's really good exposure for the coalition as well. So they're a small business, but they've grown exponentially over the past year. They're based in Colorado. So yeah, right.
So how do you open it now?
So now that it's locked, you just, I'm going to pass it around, but you put your code in. So I go back to 1012. And it opens. It'll be embarrassing. So yeah, that's how it works.
Can someone just buy that at a store or not?
I don't know. Yeah, you can get it. You can get it on Amazon.
I was about to say everything is.
Yeah, so they have a deal. SafeRx has a deal with Amazon, but they're like I don't know how much they are resale.
Yeah.
So and then when you put it back on, Roselle, you just line it up with the little things, put it back on, and then spin your numbers around, just like luggage, basically. So I'll pass
So
it.
I'm just wondering how easy it would be for somebody who's vision impaired.
Vision and arthritis too. That's another thing that I thought about. And those could be potential reasons that somebody is using medical marijuana.
Yeah,
So, so we might, I'll ask SafeRx if they have any tips about that.
Yeah, because wouldn't it be difficult if you're doing this, just put it in Braille?
Mm-hmm.
Because, you can actually feel the numbers on it. It's kind of hard to see the numbers because gray are gray, but if you did something like that.
That first thing that you did though, can they change their code later?
No,
Oh, so it's like a one-time.
It's a
you set it up
one-time.
and that's it.
you set it up, yeah. And
If your kid gets your code, you're in trouble.
yeah, so you really do have to use like I wouldn't use my birthday with them, although do your kids really know your
They better know your birthday.
Yeah, you would hope they do. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, so it has to be a pretty ambiguous number. But we'll include that information on the brochure that we create to choose a number that maybe isn't one widely known by your kids or family members. Yeah.
Good thought.
So we'll see how it goes. Excited about that. It was a good way to spend down, a little bit of money at the end of our year. So. Yeah, it's kind of exciting. Yeah. So, okay, one other thing that we are working on, Christine and I, we purchased, so a couple of years ago, well, Screenagers has been around for a long time, the documentary that focuses on teens and anxiety around screens and screen time and everything. So the producers of that documentary have since come out with 2 additional documentaries. One that we're really interested in is focused on vaping and substance use in teens, and the era of screen time. So we went ahead and purchased the license for the original Screenagers, and then also the 3rd documentary, Screenagers, the substance use one. And what we are interested in doing is bringing back Night of Conversation, which we have done with the Y. This will probably be, I think, the 5th time that we're doing a different event. Each time that we've done a Night of Conversation event, we've kind of focused on a different medium or a different platform. So the first year that we did it, we had dinner here at the Y. We welcomed families to come in and have an initial conversation about substance use with their teens. That's what the initiative is all about when it was started several years ago. So we did that. The next year we did it again. We brought in a panel. We had some student assistance counselors. We had somebody from Daytop when Daytop was still open. We had law enforcement come, and we had a panel, and they talked about, I think that was in 2019 or 2018. So it was like the height of the vaping epidemic. So we really focused on vaping for that one. We had dinner again. The next year, in an effort to reach families that didn't necessarily want to come in person to the Y, that's when we launched our podcast. So I interviewed I interviewed physicians, people from High Focus. Christine was interviewed, some other people as well. So we did that. This year, what we're thinking about doing is potentially, hopefully, partnering with the movie theater in Chatham and screening Screenagers, the substance use one, there in Chatham at the theater. So we are looking at potentially doing this in February, I think we said. Yeah, and we would also, we would make this a free event, obviously. We've already purchased the license, but hopefully, historically we've done this event with the Y. So, maybe there's an opportunity there for a sponsorship or something like that to maybe cover the cost of the theater. So we're looking, we haven't really gotten too much information yet about cost, but we think the idea is like Night of Conversation goes to the movies or something like that. Yeah. So again, doing something completely different this year and trying to drum up interest that way. We would work with the schools, obviously, on promoting it. We would also, I think we talked about having speakers at the beginning or end, I guess, of the showing. So not sure who specifically we would ask to participate on that panel, but.
So is there space in the movie theater lobby to then after you've done the screening to actually sit in conversation groups?
No, it would have to be in
At the theater, just in the front of the lights on,
So not
everyone stays in their seats.
Yeah, so not necessarily like small group conversations, but just a panel, like a question and answer or.
Because I think the whole purpose of the Night of Conversation is to get parents and kids to talk to one another.
Yeah.
And so when you have the stimulus of the movie, it gives you an excellent thing to discuss.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I would think, movie theater seats are not conducive to really sitting there and having a conversation with it. But if there was a lobby where they could actually come out like around tables or something, or just circles of chairs and come out and talk to one another. That because you've got the stimulus and then you've got the opportunity to have the conversation, which they're probably going to have in the car on the way home if, it's not guided.
It's funny you should say that because that's what I was thinking. We might do something cute about the ride home.
Yeah.
Like that there's like little questions that they take with them. So on the ride home, the parents. continue to do it.
Which we kind of did that with the game that we did a couple years ago. So we created like a little booklet of conversation starters. So the parents and teens can like kind of go through those questions, and they're like, it's kind of, you know, depending on who the audience for this is as well. If it's parents, we want to equip them with the tools that, you know, they sit through this documentary, they are like, you know, then at the end of it, they can have their questions, their immediate questions answered by a panel or by a speaker. And then they're even more equipped to then go home and initiate the conversation. It doesn't necessarily need to happen that day, but maybe, you know, we're saying we want you to have the conversation while it's fresh in your mind within, you know, the week. But really our goal with Night of Conversation has always been to, even if it's not, and it really the only time that we had the event where it was families and kids together were those for the first 2 years, and we had it here at the Y. We had staff facilitators that were leading the conversations. But other than that, it's really been parents that were kind of engaging and then telling them, okay, here are some tips on how to do it. So I don't know. I mean, we're kind of in the initial phase, planning phase right now. We have the licenses for both documentaries, and they're good for a year. So it's just a matter of deciding kind of how we want to roll it out. But we thought the Night of Conversation could be a really good.
I think it's really good. At least for this year, every year we have to come up with something too.
Yeah.
And what age group does that sort of, I mean, I know. Like
It's
start.
teens. Yeah.
Like-
So like 12, our 12 to 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I know a lot, I remember one year that seemed to be like a lot of younger kids
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah. Maybe the first year.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. I
Yeah.
mean, I think you know, I don't think when we've promoted it, we've ever, maybe that first year, we encouraged like parents or families with teens, but like, why not reach out? Why not engage?
I think they just brought their whole family,
Yeah.
right? And so they
It's
brought
such a good idea for parents
Yeah.
to know if they have a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Or a sixth grader, because they're gonna be,
Yeah,
to educate themselves for when they.
And I think it's also, we'll have to make the decision if we are inviting kids to this screening, because it might be something that's more appropriate for parents to kind of get that information and then, you know, bring it home and talk to their kids about it instead of having everyone together. Kind of depends on the audience for the documentary.
Yeah, like the hidden in plain sight, I think was just
Yeah.
parents, because you're trying to get a lowdown on what they're doing and then.
Yeah, you don't want to teach kids,
We don't
obviously,
want them to
like
know
all the
everything you
hiding
know.
spots. Yeah. You don't want them to go
Oh, we
home.
need our own deck of cards, we don't want them to know all our tricks.
Yeah.
they're already good at that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we'll talk more about that at the next meeting. If anyone has any ideas or you know, anything like that, please let us know, but we'll start focusing on it probably in the next month. Start planning more stuff. And then lastly, our sector spotlight. So I mentioned we're looking at somebody from the assistant prosecutor's office, working with Madison PD on getting someone for the November meeting. But I wanted to put it out there. We're bringing sector spotlights back, spending half of our meetings with an informational presentation from somebody in the community or an agency that we've worked with or haven't worked with in the past. So if anybody has any ideas, I just wanted to put it out there right now. If anyone has any ideas of agencies or topics that you think we should be focusing on for a sector spotlight, any sectors that you have a lot of questions for right now, or that you want to hear from. Does anybody have any topics that they'd like to learn more about, or anything like that? Just throw it out there right now.
Well, I think,
Sorry,
ahead.
you others.
no, you go ahead.
Okay, sure. Thanks. I know we're not really, the focus here is on overdoses and all that, because we really just have like a limited amount of areas to focus on, but have you guys worked with Hope One of
We have.
okay, perfect. So that was my idea, just because I remember meeting what's his name, Dannon, I think.
Yeah,
Sheriff Dannon.
Dannon, yeah.
And just the fact that he's advocated for this
Mhm.
Hope One truck that just goes to all these events. I think they were supposed to go Bottom Hill. I don't know if they went to the rescheduled one. I know they were going to the original one, but I've been trying to get to one of their pop-up things because they do this like Narcan training and stuff like that, and I want to be able to be a part of that and get like, what do you call that? What's the drug that?
Narcan.
Right, yeah, the naloxone or something like that.
Naloxone, yeah.
That's and so that's what I was trying to suggest, and some sort of collaboration with that for maybe even the tables that you do or are going to do at MHS and Chatham High School and all that.
Yeah, they, at the wellness fair last week on Thursday, Hope One actually was there. So the event was set up outside and Hope One was there. But you raise a good point, even when we are doing, which it might be outside of their hours, but when we do screenagers, you know, it could be an opportunity just to have them there, really incorporating them, you know, making them kind of a staple wherever we are. It's, I was at Walgreens last week picking up a prescription, and they now have, I don't know if you've seen these in Walgreens or CVS, they have the tower displays of Narcan. So they're probably, I don't know, 30 kits in each tower. They had two one at the front by the pharmacy and one in the back. There were maybe 2 kits left in both displays. So they're definitely going. They're being used. So yeah, Gabe, that's a great suggestion. I do think for screenagers, that could be something.
Yeah. I was just thinking any kind of stress reduction. I think that because when we see, I mean, we see the results of the surveys that there's increased stress, and there's stresses on the middle school kids as well as on the high school kids. So I would just think that anything that you can do that gives kids stress reducing strategies, and maybe again it educates parents on how to set up a household that is less stress intense.
And that's, I mean, I think that's something with Project Community Pride, like when we have, like what I mentioned before, if we have a table at the middle school or at the high school in Madison or Chatham, we want to make sure that we do have both of those resources. So we have our coloring sheets, but I think that there are other things that we could be doing. Like when we have those tables, you know, there's
I have
bubbles.
there's
So many exercises.
Yeah, we can't wait to get started. We have lots of stress relieving ideas for college, the high school kids.
You're actually making me think too on the parent side. Sometimes parents don't realize the stress they're putting on their kids. And so maybe some kind of parent education thing at some point with that. Because I know with my youngest is doing all the college apps, and my husband, his own stress of, are you going to be finished by November 1st? He kept putting on and going, you know, how many do you have left? How many essays do you have? What essays have you done? And I was like, oh my God, stop it. You go to your room and be quiet. I'm like, my son was totally on it, and my husband was a ball mess. So I'm like, I don't know.
That's a good idea for a social media post because they're due now, right?
November 1st is early action.
November
15th, some of them. And then December.
That is a good idea.
Yeah.
I said, the parents don't realize it. Like, he doesn't realize it. I'm like, you go away, he's fine. And my son knows what he's doing. I'm like, he's got it. Go away.
When you're talking about social media posts, I was just thinking that lots of times people like to post all these pictures of their kids on social media, and the comment is, oh, how beautiful. I refrain from saying anything about physical appearance on them. I'll say, I love that expression, you know, because I think to give parents in particular some tools that you're putting extra stress on the kid to keep making them think that they have to be beautiful in somebody's eyes. I think you have to really, so you know, and it's just like, I look at this, totally off topic, but I just drove past and it's a girl's son, and that this is for the past 50 years. I have been very stressed. You have a baby. That's wonderful. Why do we have to stress it's a girl or it's a boy? You know, we've got too much of this pressure on kids to be beautiful, to be the most intelligent. You know, I'll say something like, I love that expression, or isn't that a creative pose, or something like that, because I think that is affirming. And so I think just having, like you said, the prompts for discussion, I think having prompts for people to respond to social media posts would take a lot of the stress away. from kids?
You're reminding me about the last Teen Topics that we had here was with a speaker from JBWS, which formerly Jersey Battered Women's Services. They're not using that name anymore, so moving to JBWS. But Christine and I learned a lot in that presentation that focuses on healthy relationships, and social media is a big part of that. So that could even be a good sector spotlight.
Yeah.
Somebody from JBWS, right?
That'd be good.
I think so.
Yeah, and you know, people, I think our takeaway from our conversation with the person from JBWS is like any types of these presentations, whether it's a presentation for parents or if it's a sector spotlight at a meeting, I think the idea is that like people take what they need and leave the rest. So you don't really know who you're, you know, who could value from that information. So, and I think, you know, there's definitely ways to tie it back to MCC's focus, just kind of with substance, you know, what they're seeing in particular as it relates to substance use and social media and domestic violence and things like that. So it's just a matter of like getting these resources out. It's not just, I don't think Sector Spotlight has ever just been about like, okay, here's how we focus on substance use. It's about the people that we have that come to the meetings are representing at least 12 different sectors. So we want the Sector Spotlight to be a resource for everybody. So if law enforcement or if Project Community Pride is looking for a resource for a family that might need something from JBWS, well, that's an opportunity to bridge that gap. So I think that that's something. So if there are other topics or other organizations that you can think of, please let me know. We've had very great.
Have we done with Edge? Yeah.
Edge, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're fantastic to work with.
Yeah, yes, they are, for sure. So I also think like a healthcare system, we haven't really had, we've worked with Summit Health over the years. We've worked with Atlantic Health, but I think the last time we had a sector spotlight with a physician was 2 years ago when we had the emergency room crisis clinician, remember?
Yeah.
Who, he was very candid. He was really good. He talked about what he sees with teens in the emergency room that are coming in crisis.
We should get like the pulmonologist came a long time ago. It's a big thing now.
Yes, we did. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's my son's. Yeah, he was good, and he talked about vaping, which we still need to talk about.
Right.
So, but anyway, yeah, if you can think of any other topics or organizations, please send them my way. Sector updates. Does anybody have anything that they want to share from any of their sectors? Do you want to?
Well, I think that we've included a lot of the things. Project Community Pride has been collaborating with MCC a lot this fall. We did a lot of pre-planning in the summer, and we've really hit the ground running for the fall. I think that Allison highlighted a lot of the things that we are doing coming up, bagels and brainstorming with the police. We'll be able to report back kind of how that meeting goes with the police officers. And also our Teen Topics, is going to be really good. But actually, Edge is coming, so that'll be great. And then also we're going to be figuring out the basketball. I think that's really important. And some of the kids actually have asked me when we're doing it again. So I am looking forward to getting that kind of planned again, or on a Friday, probably Friday night or Saturday night. So that's that.
And we're also looking at other. Last year in November was when we did our first of these events, which was at the art studio in Madison, and that has since unfortunately closed.
Yeah.
So we're also looking at like other events.
Because that old includes
There's a Stanley Congregational Church in Chatham is now open for business. I mean, it's the Stanley Center, and they had a nice reception there yesterday. So it's got wonderful, wonderful spaces. It's got lots of different rooms that can be used for breakouts. It's got a great big auditorium with a stage and a full kitchen. So that, and the kitchen's right off the side of it. So if you want to do programming there, and it was just absolutely beautiful what they were able to do yesterday. And the acoustics in in the auditorium, where the sanctuary was, are just phenomenal. So I think that's a useful space, and it's not going to be that expensive, particularly if you've got someone who's a Chatham resident who's doing the.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah, so we
suggestion.
do want to look at some community to do some things as well. We
Yeah.
talked about that.
Yeah, different, and appealing to like different populations. So,
Yeah.
you know, the art studio,
Yeah.
you know, attracted an artsy crowd, and basketball is doing, you know, so we want to make sure that we're,
I just want to make sure we're thinking of the same one. Where's the art studio that closed down?
it was on Main Street in Madison. What was it next to? El Mondo Vecchio?
Yeah, another, it's now that, the macaroon place.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Oh.
That's what was in there? Macaron. Yeah, it is good. Yeah.
Very sorry they closed.
Yeah, it's a bummer. The macarons are so
Sorry.
right?
Oh, because I just remember passing by Kings Road. It's that new, where is
I
that?
know what you mean. I'm trying to think of the name of that art studio.
Where those new apartments and all that stuff is like, it's
Yeah.
been there for a while. No stores have moved in there. I don't know if you guys.
It was near the bike shop.
Oh, where we-
Oh,
Yes, there's a bike shop.
Next to the-
Yeah.
There's a.
Oh,
event
Creative
space there.
Hands.
It's Creative Hands. That's it, Creative
Yeah.
Hands.
Yeah, we talked about like Madison Mud, maybe. I think. Did we
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about that
Oh,
last
yeah,
year?
that one. At Chipotle, right?
Yeah. All good
I
suggestions.
don't know what the name of it was.
Yeah, Creative Hands.
Yeah.
Oh, you said that, sorry.
Like,
Yeah.
She's a French woman. I know.
Yes, yeah,
I forgot about that. Sometimes you forget. you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're
Right, you
into
drive
that
through all
also.
the time.
Yeah.
Well, with the basketball, I was wondering too, can you ever use gym space at the high school or anything for volleyball? Because sometimes volleyball is an easier sport for people to just do.
Mhm.
If you're not that coordinated, maybe, or whatever.
I don't know about that. I sustained some injuries before.
When we did the last basketball, actually, kids were playing football. They weren't just playing basketball,
They just
so.
needed the space.
But yeah, it's definitely worth.
And we
looking
did
into.
have a few of the girls came, teenage, and they were doing a little coloring at, right at the
Mhm.
table. We had like some.
Just like get out and do something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hang out.
Yeah.
Get out and do something constructive and not get into trouble.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Yes. Any other sector updates?
Yeah, so hi, I'm Amy Lewis. I'm the health educator for the Westfield Regional Health Department. We cover 8 towns, including Chatham Borough. And that's how I became the coordinator for the Municipal Alliance Committee of the Chathams. And we've been also very busy. So we passed a proclamation on Red Ribbon Week in Chatham Borough. The township doesn't do proclamations anymore, apparently. So, but yeah, we were also at the high school wellness week or wellness fair last week. So that was really well received. You know, the students just thought they were going to spin a wheel and get a prize, but they have to answer a question on mental health or substance use. So we like to do that, do a little education there. Selena is my chairperson, and we're going to be going around to the PTOs just explaining who we are. We always do that every year to the new PTOs. There's always a new president, vice president, to just let them know that we have funding and it's for them, and how would they like to spend their money. We did buy the kindness t-shirts for Washington Avenue School. We do that every year, and they wear them during Red Ribbon Week and throughout different events throughout the school year. So we got some really cool pictures of the kids wearing their shirts, and they really do appreciate that we can purchase that for them. And so the health department bought the license for We're Not Buying It, which is a evidence-based 6-week program. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. It's for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. And I'll be doing that at St. Patrick's School, as well as Footprints, which is also an evidence-based 6-week program in January. So I do hope to do We're Not Buying It in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in Chatham, because the teachers aren't trained. They're trained in Footprints because Mac bought the license, but this one, the health department bought the We're Not Buying It license. So I can do it in all 8 of my towns, which is really great to just, spread myself. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of TASTE, the Tobacco Age of Sale Enforcement.
And talk to you about
So we're going to be doing that on November 9th with some Chatham students and Westfield students. So again, we cover 8 towns. So each inspector plus me will be going to about 20 establishments that day. So I have about 14 students between the 2 towns to go in and try to buy vapes. That's basically what it's just compliance checks, making sure that the establishment is following the law and they are not selling tobacco products to underage youth, 21 and under. Since now it's 21.
So what happens if they're able to buy something?
I'm sorry.
What happens if the kid's able to buy something?
They get a ticket.
Oh.
They get issued a ticket and they get fined. So I think
There's
it's
an incentive there.
yeah, there's an incentive. Yeah, of course. So I think it's $250, then $500, then $1,000, and then I think after that they go to court. But so that's
How many establishments are there in Chatham that,
oh, I don't know. We didn't get our list yet.
okay.
But it's 20 per inspector plus me, so there's going to be 4 teams going out. So that's like, do the math. Like that's a lot. It's a lot.
Do that for marijuana too, or just the?
Well, not yet. But so TASTE used to be mandatory way back, like 25 years ago. I used to do it at my first job in Burgess Township, and that's when the state would give us money to do TASTE. And I don't know, I want to say it was around the settlement money, when the settlement monies came in. I feel like that was like when TASTE was no longer, or maybe when the settlement monies dried up, was when the state was like, we're not going to mandate this anymore. But some of the health departments still do it on their own because we know how important it is, right? So so we just still do it. And then the LMTI Fall Conference is the 10th through 12th, and I have a couple of Chatham students that are going to be attending, so I'll be doing that again. Thank God it's only 3. Well, it's 2 nights, Friday and Saturday night. I get to go home Sunday, but instead of like the week long over the summer. But it's just like basically a shortened version of the summer program, which I've never done. So that's going to be interesting for me, but I'm sure it's going to be just jam packed, trying to fit everything into 3 days. So
Where is that?
It's at the same location. So in Hardwick, it's at the YMCA, the Camp Ralph Mason. Yeah. So we're really, and then we're hoping to have we will have a table at Chatham High School during the lunch period on November 14th for Great America Smokeout. The kids made a big trifold display with what's in your vape, with pictures and, like all the chemicals and stuff that are found in vapes, just to educate the high school students. Again, we'll have the spinning wheel and we'll have questions focused on vaping. But so that's in recognition of Great American Smokeout, which is that week as well. So we're partnering with Stat Tattoo. And so, we're very, very busy. Very busy over at MAC.
What was the proclamation that they had?
For Red Ribbon Week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I have one question. Amy, right?
Yes.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Amy. I went to Madison High School, so I don't know what exactly the Chatham like sex ed and all that was like, but do you guys partner with the school to with the programming for the sex ed or the health education stuff that normally students do for gym? Oh, okay.
No, I'm the health educator, so I'm not a health, I can be a health teacher.
Right.
If, I need a second career. But I'm more, the health educators are more of a community-based.
Yeah.
So no, I don't really do anything in teaching in the school, other than some of the programs that I mentioned, like footprints and We're Not Buying and stuff like that.
Totally.
But you don't work at Madison, just Chatham.
Yeah.
Just Chatham. We only cover Chatham Borough, not even the township, but because Mac is both Chatham's, that's how I kind of got it. My boss was like, okay, fine.
Bless you. We'll give you another minute to validate.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Diana, do you have anything from Madison that you want to share? Just want to give you the opportunity if you have anything.
Hi, I think we covered a lot of stuff that we've been doing this fall. It's been a busy fall. I don't know, I think I missed the last meeting, but I don't know if we spoke about the candy bars that were given out at homecoming as well. That was another partnership between the coalition and I think Project Community Pride and Madison. But it was kind of different facts on, I want to say vaping, marijuana, and drinking, and it just had little, again, facts that were printed onto candy bar wrappers, and then those were given out as students were leaving the homecoming dance. So that was really, fun to see, just, students taking them, reading the facts before they left. And then as, Allison mentioned, we have been partnering with MCC and Project Community Pride on a bunch of fall events. This is my first fall at Madison High School, so it was really fun to see the partnerships and just getting all that support that we could not have done without the both of you. And, we had tabling, we had a lot of students coming up to our table, getting to vote, taking some information. So I'm definitely excited to continue to have those monthly tabling events. And I know Christine had mentioned that we were going to try to focus on something new every month and maybe tie it into something that's happening already in terms of like climate events and awareness weeks or months, doing different giveaways and like just fun stuff. I know Christine mentioned like aromatherapy and different fidgets and kind of like giving information on what, each of those things does for like stress relief and all of that. So definitely excited for future partnerships and events that are coming up. And then we have, I want to say it's early February, we're partnering with, I think it's Deirdre's house for Game of Life. And there will be more updates to come on that, but that's going to be kind of like a wellness fair. And the organization has like a bunch of local partners come and set up this big kind of round table where students get a scenario, like a problem scenario, and their job is to go around to every provider and see how they would solve that problem that they have. And that way they get to know all the resources, what each person does. And it's, they get a little like passport. So we're kind of playing around with, will that be a whole grade? Will that be in certain classes, like health classes? And it's an all day event. So I know MCC and PCP will definitely, they'll be in the loop with that. I've given their contact info to the individual who runs that. So just another fun thing for students to get to know more local resources and partners.
Thanks, Diana. And I think you were in your lockdown when we said before, we just, thank you for all of your work on the art contest and making it successful with all those entries. So, and then also we have, I don't know if I had these at our last meeting. These were the rebranded, redesigned candy bars for this year. So Madison and Chatham's. And again, thanks to Diana and Heather in Madison and Chatham for helping get these out. Thanks to Vicki for bringing them to Chatham. I was away, so delivered safely. Yes, we appreciate that. So yeah, okay. I'm going to spend the last few minutes talking about our myth versus facts campaign. So thank you so much to everybody that sent in suggestions, edits, everything. The grid looks pretty good right now with the facts. I have a couple questions for Sue, which I'm going to ask you about offline, some of the notes that you had. But basically, you know, I think with there's a couple wording things that need to be changed in the legalization day. So those posts. But other than that, it looks like the content is pretty good. You know, we changed some wording around, we cleaned it up a little bit, took some excessive language out, but it looks like it touches on, you know, it's pretty broad, which is kind of what we wanted. So that's kind of, I think that the grid looks pretty good. Kind of where we are right now, though, is deciding on the imagery and kind of the rollout. So right now, in my mind, I'm thinking about capacity and like when we will have the capacity to really roll this out so that it hits, so the reach is as broad as it can be. Knowing that Gabe is signed on to start as our intern. When? January?
Yeah.
January. Yeah, I think that we're going to be able to do a lot more with social media when Gabe starts. We'll just have more capacity. But kind of what I want us to start thinking about as a coalition is, you know, we have the content down, we have the facts, we have the information. What does this look like? Like when we're turning this into a campaign, you know, primarily social media with then, you know, we're going to be creating the rack cards, two rack cards that come from it, an ad in the paper. What does it look like on social media? Like, you know, what are things that we want to include? What are things that we want to stay away from in terms of visuals, colors, fonts, like, that's kind of where I am right now. Now that kind of like the hard part is done with the data and the information. So I guess what I challenge everyone to do at this point is like start looking at campaigns. Like myth versus fact campaigns are pretty common. You know, there's if you go on social media, if you hashtag a myth versus facts campaign, lots of things will come up. I think we've learned a lot over the past couple of years about what works. You know, we've used our analytics on our social media to kind of determine things that are effective and things that aren't effective. So we kind of know what time to post. We know early evening is the best time to post. That's when we're going to hit peak engagement. We know that a mix of reels and a mix of like still photos and carousel posts are what engage a lot of different people. So we definitely are going to be putting all of those things that we've learned to use with this campaign so that we do have as broad an audience as possible. But in terms of like visuals and things like that, like I said, I want everyone to kind of start doing a little research and seeing what works. I mean, when we've done campaigns in the past, like with Draw the Line, we have a logo for it. So, you know, we developed the bottle with the dotted line on it with the marker. I don't have any ideas about this campaign in particular. I think like a lot of times what we default to with marijuana or cannabis is the leaf. I don't love it. It's kind of generic and it could be very off-putting to people just right off the bat. So yeah.
And I always feel like one steady message, I don't know how you do this, but I think one of the biggest things is people think it's the same as 1970s.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of the biggest messages for the parents and everybody, like, this is a different ballgame.
Yeah.
I don't know where you go with that. Maybe a ballgame. Maybe
I like that.
the Giants versus Jets.
Yeah.
It's unexpected the Jets won.
Yeah,
This is unexpected, all this crap.
It's not the same. Yeah, it's not. Sue's like our resident, like.
Crazy person.
No,
Crazy person.
you're like our campaign. We find you quite sane.
Yeah. You do? All right, good.
Yes.
Yeah, so I have a question. So these are the themes, okay? The myth and the
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
How, and so that's the concept that you're trying to get across. What other media, within the media, so what other What methods are you thinking about using to get the idea across?
So like, what do you mean? Like what?
I mean, are there going to be visuals with this? Is there going to be a musical background with this? What you're doing? Are you thinking about a way to
Grateful Dead.
present the myth
No.
and then to present the
Yeah,
reality?
so when you look at the this spreadsheet, there's a cover slide.
Yeah.
So each of these are broken into days. So legalization is day 1, driving is day 2, emerging trends is day 3. There's 5 days, right, for the campaign. There's probably gonna be more than that because we're gonna do a lead up and then a closeout for it. But then on each day, there's a myth and a fact. So there's
that.
so
Okay.
that's a carousel post. So you're gonna click on the post, or the post is gonna come up in your feed, and then you're gonna scroll through.
Okay.
So what the other thing we need to consider is like people, we can see, we know this, we can run analytics on it, at least on Instagram, you can see how long people stay engaged. So if you have a carousel post of 5, where do people typically like tap out? Are they hanging on until the end? Or so like, what can we be doing to incentivize people to stay on until the very end? So we kind of decided, like when we had the girls this summer, we kind of collectively decided 3 myths, 3 facts is enough.
Right.
It's hard to like consolidate all of this information to just 3 when we look at these topics, but we also decided that these are the most important topics: legalization, driving, emerging trends, et cetera. So there's the post each day that has the carousel that you scroll through, but then there's supplemental, which is kind of what we need to think about. And I think Gabe will probably call on you for this a little bit. What are those additional pieces? What's the additional media? Are we doing reels? Are we doing, like we talked about with the driving, with the day that focuses on driving, can we use the Fatal Vision goggles? Can we take video of the Teen Task Force using the Fatal Vision goggles and then post that as a reel? So that would show up in a story. So that would be like an interactive piece.
Yeah.
Could we be doing on some days, like the days that are data driven? So if you look at the emerging trends day and you look at post 7, that includes our 2019 student survey data, which we actually can update because now we have 2022 student survey data. But if you look at that, we could be doing a poll where we're asking people, what percentage of high school students do you think have used marijuana in the past 30 days? And then we could give them a multiple choice and they could answer and they could get a $5 Dunkin' Donuts gift card if they comment. So like, we're like looking at like, so there's going to be multiple components to the social media. The traditional media is going to be, we're going to do an ad for sure. We could do things like a mailer, probably not. There isn't really too much return on investment with mailers anymore, but we could do a mailer. We could do a targeted campaign for why families that have that 12 to 17-year-old population in their family. We could do that. There's that piece of it as well. So we want it to be as engaging as possible. We want it to be appealing to as many different learning styles and does that answer your question, kind of?
Yes, yeah, because I mean, you have the text here.
Yes.
Text is one way of communicating.
Yes.
But it's not the most effective way of communicating.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we want to get people that have like a 2-second.
I like the interactive, and I would do something different on different days.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not doing exactly the same activity thing, but anything that gets people engaged and gives you a read of how engaged they are. As particularly, my attention focused on the one that over half of the kids high school students are using, whichever category it was, and saying that doesn't make sense. And then you have
Yes.
And so it's the under emerging trends post number 6. In Mazin, more high school students have used cannabis in the last 30 days than haven't. And I think that can't be real, can it?
Yeah.
And then I saw you followed it up with what the survey was, and I think that was really meaningful.
And I think it's important that we have something that is standard across the campaign that makes it very obvious when the post is a myth versus when it's a fact. You don't want the takeaway to be like, oh my God, this is, you don't want that to be the takeaway. And kids are obviously very savvy. We don't want somebody screenshotting a myth and then sharing that as a myth. We want to put something, we want to put a watermark on it. We want to put something on it that clearly shows that it's a myth. That if you screenshot it, you can't take the watermark away. It's going to say myth on it very clearly, because we know, like I said, kids are savvy. They'll figure out a way to
I think
do
this
that.
is a beautiful idea. You're putting a lot of time and energy into it, but I think it's great.
Yeah. So the other thing too is like, we need to think about, I like Sue's, it's a different ball game. That's a very clever, theme or, visual that I can kind of start working with a little bit. But we also have a list, Elise and Leah kind of developed, which I don't have on here, but like they started a list of like the supplemental content. So I mentioned before the Fatal Vision video. They have a couple TikTok ideas that like use different sounds or audio that they can incorporate it into different things. They had another thing is for one of these going around and asking people either in the community or we probably would do it here at the Y, like, what do you think X, Y, and Z, like, like what's your perception of like using the little mini microphone that you see sometimes on social media and like interviewing people and then creating a reel that way. That was another one. So we do have a list of these things, but we need to build that out even more. Like we just want it to be, we want there to be as many opportunities for people to like, have something that resonates with them. So if there are things as you look at this list or you look at this grid and just kind of like knowing what we've done in the past or, what we've worked on as a coalition, if you can make a connection to something and think, okay, that could be a good idea, please share that. This campaign, like Draw the Line, like a lot of the other stuff that we've done, this is really like a coalition effort. So that's why it's important to kind of take it slow and make sure that it's a strategic, we want to be strategic about how we're sharing it and how we're releasing it. We want it to be fully developed before we start.
So is your thought to do it at the same time each day of this? Are you doing it? Yeah.
So the post might happen at the same time each day when we typically hit peak engagement, but we would stagger the supplemental stuff. So we would start, maybe every day we're starting with a story. I think the goal, and this is why I was saying like with Gate, like, social media is very, very difficult just anyway. Like we all know this, it's not easy to do, but when you don't have too much capacity for it, it's even more difficult. It seems like it's so easy to do, but like you have to schedule things and you have to, so I think that we will have so much more capacity in January. That doesn't mean that we're not working on anything. What I mean when I say capacity in January is we can have this ready to go, ready to roll out. And it's a matter of, okay, now we can actually roll it out. And I think, Sue, we had talked about this with January. January is typically like a dry month for a lot of people. There are ways to incorporate what we're focusing on with this campaign, just with like the timing of the new year and kind of focusing on developing healthy behaviors and things like that.
So do schools have any kind of an internal, the League of Women Voters is doing we're doing some teaching modules in schools. So I was just in Parsippany Middle School last week, watching kids do this presentation, and I'm listening to the announcements that come on in the morning, and the way that and kids are giving, they're giving out information about things going on in the school. I'm just wondering in the middle schools and the high schools in Chatham and Madison, if there is some sort of a school-wide announcement thing that if you're focusing on social media, that you can do it in the school at the same time.
That's a good point. Yeah. And we also, I think, Diana, I know Madison has, like, there's the Madison High School Instagram page. We've had some stuff reshared by them and also the Madison High School PTO in the past week or so. So it leads me to like my last point before we wrap this up, which is the other thing to consider is like, we work with Project Community Pride, we work with the Y, we work with every sector, but like, where are the opportunities for engagement with this campaign in particular. So like, what's something that like, how can we work with law enforcement on this? How do we work with the schools? Obviously is the big one. So thinking about the art contest that we did last week, like there could be opportunity there. And Diana, probably with your PGC kids, there could be something there where we could work together and, you know, have them, you know, work on some aspect of it or make it some sort of interactive school piece, right? I think that there, you know, we should start talking about that now. You know, ways that we can, you know, things that we can do with that group.
And the other thing I'm thinking about just in schools too is that I know that during the environmental clubs took a special weekend in April to do some panels that were just in the lobby as kids came in and walked past. And so if you were doing this whole thing as a big media campaign, I think it's really important to engage where kids are and they're seeing it. And so even to take like just the idea and have, if you had some kids in the school that were willing to put up or if you created a panel here and then just put the display up for that week as kids are walking into the building or as they're walking into the cafeteria or something like that.
Yeah.
So that they'll see something in school, they'll see something on the social media page, and they'll get a double dose.
Yeah, we want to inundate them. Yeah, we want to inundate them for sure. And I think the other thing, last thing I'll say, we know that we have Hidden in Plain Sight in January. We're going to have Screenagers in February. So there are going to be these like additional opportunities for us to hit people with it.
Yeah.
So that's it. So I encourage everyone to start looking at like visuals and kind of like what you think might work, what you think we should stay away from. You know, we don't want to do like the balance. We don't want to do that. I feel like that's like a myth, that's like a stated, myth versus fact, legal. Yeah. So just start thinking about that, and we'll talk about that at our next meeting. Date is going to be, I'll share that as soon as I have it, once we get somebody finalized from the assistant prosecutor's office, but it most likely will be an evening meeting. So hopefully you can adjust your schedule and can still make it work because it should be informative. So thank you everyone for coming today on our off day. I appreciate everyone making the effort, and we'll see you in November. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I can be assistant.